Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot for the opportunity. It's great to be here. Thanks for those that stayed and that didn't leave the room. I just want to give you a little bit of an insight into a fast-growing emerging market digital company. Let me first of all introduce myself. My name is Ralf Wenzel. I'm one of the founders of Foodpanda. So what is Foodpanda? Foodpanda is a company that was started 3 years ago. And it's a company that is focused on food delivery, on online food delivery. So what we have created is a marketplace, it's a website, it's a mobile application that allows for the discovery of different food options, that has like digital menus on the app, that allows people to search for menu options for dishes, and that allow people also to place orders for getting the food delivered or for the food being taken away from the restaurants. We have launched the business about 3 years ago. We are now in more than 30 countries across the globe, and we focus predominantly on the emerging markets, from Asia to Africa to the Middle East, to Eastern Europe, Russia, India, and a variety of other countries. And when I also personally started the business, after having managed and being part of many other internet businesses over the last, let's say, 12 years, I was still full of illusions, full of basically ideas, full of a certain idealism when it comes to bringing business models into the emerging markets. So one of the idealistic thinking that I had was, first of all, I thought it's going to be relatively easy. I expected business in the emerging markets in India and Indonesia and Russia to be slightly more complicated, slightly more complex, but I thought it will be similar because internet is everywhere, people are everywhere, restaurants are everywhere, people that are eating are everywhere. I also thought that business models can be exported. I thought if you have one business model that works in one country, it will easily work in all the other countries. If you have one business model that works in Germany or that works in the UK or that works in the US, and of course, we also have peer companies that do something very, very similar in the US, in the UK, in Germany, and other markets. I thought if a business model works in a particular way in one country, it will work in almost the same way in a Bangladesh or in a Uganda or in a Nigeria. And I thought, being a software engineer myself and having worked as a software developer, it's all about technology. You build the technology, and the way people will consume the technology, the way people will use the technology will be also very, very similar across all those different countries. And given the fact that I thought maybe it's 20%, 30% more complex, only 20 or 30% more complex than running such a business in Western Europe, I thought we could also centralize easily. We built a nice office in Berlin, and from Berlin we manage 40, 50 emerging markets. We built one central platform, and we have maybe some few people here and there, but it will work. The reality now, after 3 years, and telling you a couple of our experiences that we have made, the reality has been slightly different. And we have come across challenges and experiences that now tell us different. And I think where we could give advice to those that want to expand into emerging markets and that, similarly to us, see the emerging markets, of course, as a huge opportunity for everything that is digitalization, for everything that is internet business models. So when we started, and coming back to our business model is we take the restaurant's menus, we put them online onto a website or on a mobile app, and we allow people to browse the website or the mobile app and then to place an order. So the first thing that, of course, we built, and that's always the first thing that internet companies used to build, is a website. The first thing that we built was a website. I thought, let's build a website. And we put the restaurant menus onto the website. So we had people going to the restaurants, collecting the menus. We were writing down the menus. We were digitalizing the menus. We were putting the menus onto the website. And once you have a website, the first thing that you are doing is you start search engine marketing. You go to Google and other search engines, and you start search engine marketing to test out how it works. So we did. But we realized, and that was basically the business that maybe also some other peer companies in some other markets outside of the emerging companies would have built. A website that shows restaurant menus, that allows for placing orders, and where you have online marketing or other means of marketing, and somehow transfer then the order to the restaurant would do the delivery. So we did so, starting in Singapore, and being over-ambitious and still thinking that it's easy, we launched the business in Thailand, in Indonesia, in India, in Russia, in a variety of other countries. While expanding quickly, we figured out nobody actually uses the website. So we built a channel that nobody was using in Indonesia or in India, because it's all mobile app driven. The society that we are approaching, the demographic that we are approaching, is mobile app driven. The second thing that we figured out is we are placing restaurant menus onto the site, and those restaurants are from all over the city. So if a customer places an order, the restaurant would have been on one side of the city, the customer would have been on the other side of the city, and the delivery would have taken 2 hours. So by that time, people would have been starving. People would have been cooked their own food. So it was also something like very, very inconvenient. If you order from such a website in Germany, it takes an hour to get the food delivered. In Mumbai, it usually takes 2 hours. So it was a bad experience. The third thing that we figured out was in Germany, in Western Europe, in other countries, you can almost rely on the restaurants and on the consumers that they behave based on a certain rational behavior, a certain type of rationalization. So here in Germany, in Berlin, you assume that every restaurant that you go to is at least having okay food. They're good and they're bad restaurants, but they're all having okay food. In Mumbai, the situation is very, very different. 20% of the restaurants are very good. 20% of the restaurants are good. 20% of the restaurants are bad. 20% are very bad, and the remaining 20% is poisoning you. So you can't put all of the restaurants onto your site because you would have an extremely bad experience. So the result was we had a website. Once you have placed an order, it took 2 hours to get it delivered. And 20% of the food that we have delivered, or that we were basically serving for or basically offering through our website from the restaurants, was not of a great quality, or even more. So we went back to the drawing board and realized potentially it's not as easy as we thought, so we need to do something different. And then again, we looked into some peer concepts. What you do as an internet entrepreneur, as somebody founding a company, you always look into how somebody else solving it. So we looked into, well, how are people solving it outside of the emerging markets? So outside of the emerging markets, what they do, first of all, is they locate people. They geolocate people. How do they geolocate people? They geolocate people based on a postal code system. A postal code system would then only show those restaurants of your respective area that would deliver in that respective area, and that would mean the delivery times are not 2 hours, but probably only like 1 hour, or half an hour, or 45 minutes, or 1.5 hours. So we said, okay, we need to geolocate. We then started to look into, well, let's find a postal code system in Indonesia. There is no postal code system in Indonesia. Indonesia doesn't have a postal code system. Indonesia doesn't even have a proper address definition. If you ask somebody in Indonesia on the street where he lives, he would tell you and give you certain associations. He would tell you that he's living behind a green shopping center that is close to a very famous mosque. So they tell you, they give you a description of 5 different sentences in terms of where they live. So try to bring that online. Try to bring that behavior online and try to find a way to digitalize the way they're associating their place of living. The second thing that we found was, well, if the restaurant takes 2 hours to get the food delivered, let's do it ourselves and hire our own riders. But when we hired our own riders, they also took 3 hours. And when it started to become winter in Moscow, it wasn't only 2 hours, it sometimes was 3 hours. They got stuck in traffic. They couldn't operate the bikes because the snow was like 2 meters high. The third thing that we figured out was, well, how do we transmit the order to the restaurant? Because we started calling the restaurant and transmitting the orders over the phone to the restaurant. We got an order on the website, we transmitted that over the phone, and we said, well, some of the peer companies in the Western markets, they've developed like a nice device, a printer. So we used that printer, let's build something similar, and we put the printer into the restaurant. And then we talked again to a big food delivery chain in Indonesia that is doing about 800,000 food delivery orders on a monthly basis in the greater area of Jakarta. We gave them that technology, assuming that they would install that technology into their different outlets. But what they did is they placed that technology into their central office. The printer that we installed there, or that they installed there, would have printed the voucher, the order. They would have taken the order, would have given it to a call center agent. That call center agent was typing the details that were on that printout. We're giving it into a proprietary system. They also made a copy of that order code, of that order snippet that came out of the printer, and to have a backup channel, did fax it to the respective restaurant. So an extremely manual process. So again, we said we have now come to the iteration of doing something similar to what companies are doing in some of the Western peer markets. So again, we went back to the drawing board, and we had to again reiterate ourselves, and we started from the very, very beginning. And what we actually did was to reinvent ourselves and started to become everything else than just a marketplace company. We were starting with the idea of being a marketplace company. We were starting with the idea of bringing the same business model into every single country. We were starting with the idea marketplace companies are easy, and potentially in 3 to 5 years we could retire because everything would work automatically. So the first thing that we were doing was to implement our own logistic and location system, our own mapping system. Again, Jakarta doesn't have a postal code system. They don't have a proper address system. So we took Jakarta as a city. We used a local team. We were also more and more relying on local teams instead of like the centralized team. And we broke down Jakarta into different demographic areas, analyzing where do people live, where do they order food from. We then made a sophisticated local research in terms of figuring out what are the restaurants that are offering food for delivery. We talked to the consumers on the ground, doing focus groups and surveys in order to understand where are people ordering from which restaurants. And based on that research, we then started to define our own areas. We were starting to define a neighborhood system for Jakarta. We were drawing polygons ourselves, a couple of hundred polygons, dividing the city of Jakarta and giving every of these polygons a name and a number. So we kind of reintroduced the postal code system to Jakarta, and so we did in many, many other cities of the world. In some cities of the world, those polygons and those delivery areas have been radiuses. In other cities of the world, like Moscow, they're being attached to the metro system, because that's also how people associate themselves in terms of where they live, where they move around, where they would order food. The second thing that we have been doing is, apart from now inventing our own mapping technology, a proprietary mapping technology that works different in every single city that we are in, is to launch and implement our own logistics system. We tried to hire our own riders. We were trying to take care of the delivery in a variety of different cities, but we were not doing it better than the restaurants. So we built a system that allows any type of courier company, any type of rider, any type of freelancer, any type of taxi driver to get logged into our system, onto our system, to catch an order that is on the cloud, and based on the proprietary mapping technology, deliver that order in a tracked way. So we give everyone a piece of technology, a mobile app, whereby we can track where they are, whereby we can track where they move, whereby we can automatically calculate an algorithm that would associate the restaurant, the consumer, and the driver. So we were building that piece of technology and becoming from one day to the other not only a marketplace, but also a logistic company. We also had to take care of the payment. How do we solve the payments? In a majority of the emerging markets, there's no credit card penetration yet. So we had to work with local e-wallets, with local payment companies, with mobile payment companies, and integrate in every single country of the world a slightly different way of accepting payments from the consumer, settling the restaurant, and operating a system that works across all of the countries we're in. We also thought, in our ambition to conquer the world and operate throughout all of the emerging markets, that there is a greenfield opportunity and that the business would work everywhere. We also realized, yes, there is a very, very strong food delivery culture in Russia and in India, in Bangladesh, and in some other countries, but there's still countries and cities where food delivery and the habit of ordering food for delivery and takeaway is not as big in others. So we also iterated in terms of the countries that we're operating in. Now, after 3 years, we are a combination. We are not a marketplace anymore that relies on a website, but we are a marketplace that is considered to be a managed marketplace that carefully selects its inventory. We have become a logistic company ourselves, and we're able to deliver in a hyper-local way, in an on-demand, hyper-local way within a very, very short period of time. We have also become our own mapping technology type of company because we have mapped out the world differently than anyone else would have done it up until now. So we have become everything else than the marketplace company that we would have thought about at the very, very beginning of the start of our operations. And we have now built a system that even in a city like Delhi, a city of more than 10 million people, where people order more food than everywhere else in the world, where the demographic of Delhi is that more than 50% of the population is between 15 and 35 years old. Those 15 to 35 years old people, they often live by themselves. They're working for the families that are living outside of Delhi, and they have a habit of ordering up to every day. So we've built a system in Delhi that is able to fulfill the needs of those people, that is able to deliver within 40 minutes maximum. So we're now giving a 40 minutes delivery time guarantee across India and, by the way, across many other countries that we are in. We have built a system that scales organically, that's not relying on paid marketing, but where 80% of all new customers that are starting to use our system are coming to us organically based on the user experience that we have created. And we have evolved from a marketplace company that's relying on paid marketing, that constantly brings new customers to our site, that constantly brings new customers to our app. By paid marketing, we have evolved to an ecosystem that controls and tracks every step of the food delivery chain, from ordering food, discovering food, transmitting the food to the restaurants, up to delivering the food to the customer's doorstep in a guaranteed period of time. And giving the experience that we have created and giving the higher loyalty that the perfect experience creates, we have also managed to significantly increase the viral effect of what we are doing, and we are bringing more and more customers, as I said, to our site in an organic way. So concluding that, I think the big lesson for us has been that in the emerging markets, and that's what we have experienced, you need to take a much more holistic view on digitalization. You need to take a view whereby it's not sufficient to build technology, it's not sufficient to build a website, it's not sufficient to build a mobile app and rely on a business model that works in other countries. But especially in the emerging markets, you need to cater and solve all the connected parts that make you successful as an internet company, as a digital company. You need to solve for the delivery yourself. You need to solve the supply yourself. You need to be much more selective in terms of where do you work, who do you work with, which customers do you work with, which suppliers do you work with. And first and foremost, you need to digitalize people's minds as well. The consumption of technology works different in the emerging markets. We had to more and more rely on local resources, on local people in the respective countries. We are now decentralizing towards giving the countries more and more responsibility instead of operating things centrally out of Western Europe. So changing people's mind, changing people's way of perceiving technology, solving the surroundings of every type of business model that might have worked in the emerging markets, that at least has been the key to success for our business. We keep on operating in more than 30 countries. We are more than doubling our order numbers and our market share every year. And I think now with the sensitivity and the learnings that we have made over the last couple of years and months, I think hopefully we are well prepared for the future as well. Any questions to the audience? Anything that you would like to know?
Back, I can see a woman in a black top there.
Sure.
You recently sold your business in Vietnam. Why?
That's exactly what I've meant in terms of understanding where and which markets work and which markets don't work. Vietnam has been one of our earlier markets. It was maybe after Singapore, Thailand, and Indonesia, one of the markets that we have started to operate it in first. I think what we realized is that Vietnam was a much smaller opportunity for food delivery than maybe compared to in India, maybe compared to Russia and other geographies. And I think it's still a market that is very, very early in terms of internet development, in terms of digitalization, and especially in terms of digitalization of people's mindset. So it will come, but it will take a significantly longer amount of time. So we focused on other markets. We decided to focus on other markets and divest from the Vietnamese market.
Maybe one more really quickly. That's you in the red tie.
Did you hear from Foodpanda this morning? One of his predictions was not only that Apple's going to buy Tesla, but also that the boom in food delivery is over.
I think the boom in food delivery is just about to start. If you talk to a food delivery chain in Jakarta, it's one of the biggest food delivery chains in the world, and they do 800,000 food deliveries in the greater area of Jakarta. They're all being done manually. They're all being processed manually. If you speak to one of the biggest sushi chains in Moscow, and they do 500,000 food deliveries per month in Moscow. And if you look at how they process that, if you look into that it's all being manual, if you look into how many pizza flyers you still have every morning in your letterbox, I think the business is just about to start. I think it's the question of how do you solve the experience? How do you make sure it's the best restaurants, the fastest delivery time? And it's about the question of which markets can you really become a synonym in, like a Google for food delivery. So I think we're at the very, very beginning of what food delivery and the food delivery market is about.
For time's sake, we're going to have to leave it there for now. I thank you very much, especially for being so honest about the things you tried that didn't work. I think that's a really valuable contribution and one that's often overlooked when it comes to innovation. Not everything works, and sometimes it's important to talk about the mistakes we've made along the way in order to become successful. So let's have a round of applause for Ralf.
Thank you.